Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the League of Women Voters and WHCI Forum for West Hartford Town Council candidates. We are pleased to be able to bring you this nonpartisan voter service for the 2023 local election with the cooperation of the political parties in alphabetical order, a Connecticut party, the Democratic Party, and the Republican Party. This event would not be possible without the help of the West Hartford Community Interactive Media's Jennifer Evans, her staff, and volunteers, and also the volunteers of the League who are here serving as timers and question screeners. We are coming to you live from the legislative chambers of the West Hartford Town Hall. I am Carol Mulready, and I am the chair of voter service for the League of Greater Hartford. And I will be just making this introduction and then turning this program over to our moderator and co-president of the League, Libby Switek. There are 11 candidates for council. One of the candidates sent me a message about an hour ago about a family emergency and will not be able to attend. Mark Zdanowicz sends his regards to all of the candidates, wishing you the best. And we hope he will participate in the 411 online voter's guide that the League is having this year for all the candidates, and you'll see advertising for that in your local papers and hopefully some public service announcements as well. There was a lottery before this event to determine the order of responses to the first question posed from the League. Subsequent questions will be rotated among the candidates to give each person a chance to respond first to a question. Some of the questions will come from members of the audience who have been invited to submit written questions on policy issues relevant to the town council operations. All candidates will be able to answer every question that is asked. If they choose to make their answers shorter than the 90 seconds that is allowed for each response, we welcome that so that we can get to ask more questions. The questions are posed by the moderator and were developed, the initial ones were developed by the League during its annual questions meeting held in the summer. The candidates will be introduced by name and party by the moderator, but we will have closing statements from each of the candidates after the question and answer period is over. Candidates may not interrupt each other, and because there are so many, we are not going to be able to have rebuttals to questions in this format. We ask the audience to kindly refrain from clapping or reacting to individual candidate responses because that shortens the time that we have available for questions. Each candidate, as I said, will be able to give a closing statement of 2 minutes, and the timers will be using the cards that we have that give them a clue as to how much time they have left. West Hartford Community Active is live streaming this and recording it for post-forum distribution. The League will also attempt to get it on its Facebook and Twitter feeds, and it will also inform the residents via various kinds of media and email messages. Candidates are welcome to inform the media and their supporters and the public of this event and its availability on television and on YouTube. So I now turn the program over to Libby Switek.
Good evening, and welcome to the West Hartford Candidate Forum. I'm going to introduce the candidates from the left going around to the right. In seat number 1, we have Democrat Barry Walters. We have a Connecticut Party Rick Bush in seat number 2. Seat number 3 is Democrat Deb Poland. Seat number 4 is Democrat Tiffany McGinnis. Seat number 5 is currently unoccupied, but we hope that a candidate will come in later. Seat number 6 is Ben Winograd, Democrat. Seat number 7, Alberto Cortez. Seat number 8, Democrat Sherry Cantor. Did I say that right? It was Republican Alberto Cortez. I've already forgotten. And seat number 10 is Democrat Carol Blanks. The way we're going to start the questioning, we'll start with with position number 1 and go to position number 2. After the candidate has had an opportunity to answer the current question, we'll go around the podium and ask for other responses, and then move down the line. Okay, question number 1 for Barry Walters is, what is your opinion on the handling of food waste and how can it be improved?
The opinion of food waste as it is, well, before the pilot program or after. I know that we have a pilot program right now that is in the works in a very specific area of town. I do not know the results or if those results are actually available yet. In general, I can say that the idea of collecting food waste and composting it is a good one, as long as it's done in a realistic manner that people are actually going to want to do it. You know, making it hard for anybody to do it is not going to prove to be successful. So I think that kind of waiting to see what our pilot program, the results are going to be on that, is going to be key to how I, to be honest, feel about it in the future. You know, I want to make sure that it's effective and cost effective as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bush, do you have any comments on?
Hi, thanks. Red is on. So I'm on the Conservation, what was formerly the Conservation and Environment Commission. Currently now they've done away with that program and have a Sustainable West Hartford Commission. I was not reappointed by the Republicans, so I'm now just a volunteer citizen member of that commission, just because I'm interested in what's going on and I'd like to try to help West Hartford to move into the future. So food waste is a discussion that is important in West Hartford. It is expensive to get rid of all waste, and the costs are just increasing over time. Food is an easy way to remove the weight from the waste. It does cause methane, so when it gets brought to the landfills, the methane that is emitted by the degradation of the food waste creates global warming, so it's important to remove it. And it is also very easy to separate from the trash stream. There's currently a program in West Hartford where there's some green buckets that you can put the food waste in, and you know, at this point, the biggest issue is the cost. So if we can figure out a way to reduce the cost of eliminating the food waste, it would be a great benefit to West Hartford.
Okay, thank you. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go around everybody, but does anyone else have? I have to? Okay, I have to. Okay, sorry, we're going to do it all. Ms. Poland, your opinion on the question.
Yes, thank you. And first, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and West Hartford Community Interactive for hosting this forum, and also all of the 3 political parties for agreeing to participate in the forum. Getting the food waste separated out from the trash is a win-win. This is a way that we can save money as a town because trash collection is very, very expensive for everybody in Connecticut. And food is the largest component of our waste. And it's also a win for the environment because, as Mr. Bush said, we know that food waste in the waste stream causes methane, and we want to try to help with that. I'm excited about the pilot program that we have here in West Hartford. I know there are about a dozen other towns who are also piloting ways to take food waste out of the system, and I would like to see the results of all of the different pilot projects, and then hopefully we'll find something that can be successful to scale up across the town.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McGinnis.
Yes, hi. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and WHCI for hosting this event tonight. I'm actually part of the pilot program. So my husband's in the audience. We've been participating since day one. It did take a little bit of time to get used to, just because you're used to either putting things in the disposal or putting it in the trash, going in our trash bags, especially after our son went back to UConn, because he seems to make an inordinate amount of trash. But I think it's a good thing. I think the participation has been good so far. I think a lot of people might not understand it or think it's going to be hard, but it truly isn't. So you can take my word for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Winograd.
thank you very much, and thank the League. And I am legally required to note that my mother is a lifelong member of the League, and I will be in trouble if I don't mention that. Grew up with the League, so you're my favorite people. I want to just make a couple comments. A lot has already been stated. That's very correct. I do want to note we do have a very robust program in the schools already, and have great success. And even more importantly, our students are learning how to do it themselves and bring it back to their families. So I think long term, that's really our solution. That again, it's becoming part of daily life. We have a big problem of paying for the waste that we put in the bins, and anything we can do to reduce that is obviously beneficial. I also just want to note, I'll thank Rick for your service on that committee. I'm sorry you're not involved in the next one. But those committees have done a fantastic job of really bringing that sort of information to the council, and we'll take a lead, I think, in as we plan for the future to make this a viable program.
Thank you. Mr. Cortez.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and West Hartford Community Interactive TV as well for putting this on. Food waste, I was excited when the pilot program came online, and I'm looking forward, I supported it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it expand. As long as we can, as it grows, the cost effectiveness piece of it, that's because if it's costing too much money, then we have to look at how we're doing business. How do we put it out to other vendors? So we're not locked in long term to some of the vendors that are available. We just want to open it up to as many people, many vendors as possible. And education, it's one thing to have a program going, but it's educating everyone, how to separate your trash, right? What goes into food waste, how to recycle better, and that will help drive costs down, ideally. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cantor, your response.
Thank you. 40% of Connecticut's waste is trucked out of state, and 25% of West Hartford's waste is food waste. As we see tipping fees for solid waste go up and up and up as we close waste-to-energy plants, aging, the Mirror plant closed, it puts extreme pressure on municipalities to figure out how to divert solid waste and make sense out of this. So diversion is the key, and so the pilot was aimed at diversion. There's other ways that we can divert waste. We can have a food scrap drop-off. We can do some other things as opposed to a town-wide curbside pickup back from this pilot, and we will figure out how much that costs and can we save enough with diverting our waste to offer a curbside pickup. But there are other options. In Middletown just adopted a small, and they're small, they have a small town program that they just do a dual bag. So in one pickup, you have one bag for food waste and one bag for other waste. And is that something we can do? We have some work to do in our public works facility to make all that possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks.
Thank you for the question, and thank you to the Greater Hartford League of Women Voters and WHCI for hosting this event. And since many of the responses have already been taken up, what I will add is this, that it is costing thousands of dollars in tonnage for food waste, and there's a huge issue for trash management that we are all responsible to address. And our town, I'm proud to say, with our fantastic team, are always being proactive to look at ways and to interact with our residents in terms of handling this the best way possible and to save our town money. I also love, we talked about how we can improve that our staff is working with the school district, which is huge because when we teach our young students responsibility about food waste and trash management, it's a win-win. So overall, we will end up saving money because we're teaching responsibility and essential skills to our young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to question 2, we will start with Mr. Bush. What is your opinion on the Vision Zero initiative in town regarding safety issues? I.e., the process being is the process being followed and the viability of the designs presented so far by the consultant team to the task force? I'm reading this verbatim. your opinion on the Vision Zero initiative in town.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to go off script because I have no idea what the zero vision is. I'm just going to make a couple of statements that I feel like are relevant because I don't think a lot of people know who I am. Just want to clarify that I'm a moderate Republican. I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. I left the Republican Party because I was in opposition to the federal level politics that are going on. And, back in 2018, I believe I ran for State House of Representatives, and I came out and I said that I did not support Amy Coney Barrett for Supreme Court justice because I was afraid that she would overturn Roe v. Wade. And at that moment, the Republican Party called me a rhino and let me go.
We're going to have to stop you on that for the moment. That's more in line for your closing statement. We're trying to focus on the issues at the moment.
Okay, I
but
appreciate
thank you.
that.
But thank you. We'll get back to you. Let's see. Go on with Ms. Pullen, the Zero Initiative, Vision Zero Initiative.
Thank you for that question. And for folks who aren't aware of what Vision Zero is, this is a plan where we aim to have zero road fatalities, whether pedestrian, bicycle, or in a car, as soon as we can. And we all probably remember that we had a very tragic month last December where we had 5 people die in road fatalities in 1 month. And we need to do what we can to make sure that the roads become safer. So the Vision Zero initiative is a way for us to get there. This is a group of stakeholders. All of the meetings are public. I would encourage everybody to look on our town website to find out when the meetings are and how to attend the meetings, because we want to hear from folks about where they feel we can make improvements in the roads, how we can get people to drive more safely. There are things that we can do actually that will encourage drivers to slow down and be safer. We've already seen some effects from the North Main Street Road Diet, but there are other things that we can do. We're looking at rotaries, we're looking at speed tables, better sidewalks, better crosswalks, all kinds of things that we can do. And I'm anxious to get some of the low-hanging fruit implemented so that we can make our roads as safe as possible for everybody to use in town.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. McGinnis.
Yes, just to add to what Councilor Pullen was saying, we have hired a national consultant that's a national leader in Vision Zero initiatives. And what they're saying is that we need to have all the data compiled before we take like short-term actions, that's the best way to come up with a comprehensive plan. Right now, well, actually, today is Tuesday, it closed yesterday. There was an online survey that people could take. There were questions people could answer and opinions about the Vision Zero plan and its objectives. So I think, obviously, stopping transit deaths is a good idea, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a...
Can I have the balance of my time to continue my conversation if I keep on the topic?
If you can keep on the topic.
Great. I just want to make one comment. Thank you for giving me the rest of my time. I just would like to say that I fully support red light cameras. I think that there's an absolute disaster of traffic in West Hartford, and there's way too much traffic. And if the Zero initiative includes having cameras on traffic lights, I would support that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've been joined by Mr. Aaron Sarwar, who is one of the Republican candidates. It would normally be your turn. I'm going to give you a pass, and we'll come back around to you. Okay, the topic is the Vision Zero initiative in town. So we'll move on to Mr. Winograd.
Thank you. So, as stated before, we're still waiting on the report from our national consultant, and I think it is, always a good idea to bring one in, and we're all looking eager to see what they come up with. But I do want to say that the process has been so far, I think, really encouraging. The energy from the participants and the dedication to this cause has just been amazing. We need it. We certainly have done some legislative work, getting the red light cameras. We all lobbied to get that approved, and we're eager to start that. But other things in terms of traffic calming, again, we've had a lot of these in place, but what we really need, and that was the leadership of Mayor Cantor, to bring in this particular plan to make it more holistic, to really bring a full plan together, so we can address these accidents and make our roads safer. So, like I said, more to come. We can't wait to see the result, but I think it will make a great deal of benefit to our town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cortez, your comments.
So the Vision Zero initiative is one of the things that it's an initiative of how you want things to get started, right? We hit the ground running right away, no hesitation, and we saw, going after the low-hanging fruit right out of the gate, instead of talking, but in the meantime, we're collecting data. And that's the important piece, is continuing collecting data, but in live time, and knowing that things change. Like during the pandemic, traffic was a lot lighter on the roads, so you had less issues. But now, as we go back to work at at 100% level, people not working from home like they used to before. Now there's increased traffic, increase in accidents, so we have to adjust how we do business, and that started with the enforcement of traffic enforcement with the West Hartford PD. As their stops increased over the year, now you start to see more infractions, right? Less accidents going on in 1 year, and that played a role. And I think with the Vision Zero initiative added to that, I think that, again, it's one of the things that we kind of got right out of the gate. But what we have to keep in mind is the equity piece. We talk about red light traffic cameras, right? That only captures a vehicle, doesn't capture a person, right? Now someone has to take a time, if it's not them, someone borrowed their car, take time out of work, to address these issues. So we got to look at it holistically, completely, and also from an equity point of view. And I think if we do that with data, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. Who's right on? Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. So after a very, as you've heard, after a really tragic period of time at the end of December, actually the whole month of December, but particularly the end of December, we said we have to, we knew things had to change, and we were working on some things, but we said we really need big changes. So Vision Zero was adopted in Norway in the 90s, and it's been a very effective process for many municipalities around the world, and so it has been adopted in some other states in our country, and we have national experts in it. So Vision Zero 20 is actually removing all fatalities and serious injuries by 2033, because some of the things will require significant engineering changes to our roads. So one of the statements, it says support of safe, health, and equitable mobility with the goal of eliminating fatalities and severe injuries by 2033. And so our national consultant is working with and I really want to thank our Vision Zero volunteers for the task force, who have worked already with our police, engineering, community development, all together to come up with some pretty important input. And then the public, as Ms. McGinnis said, although the input closes, go on the website.
I would actually like to comment on the...
You're going to, yeah, we're going to get a chance. No, we're just letting you settle into your seat. Ms. Blanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the question. The town council was very responsive to all of the accidents that occurred in December, and decided to bring this consultant group in to address these issues. Not only that, but we included town staff, community stakeholders, and community residents to weigh in on the best way to come up with a comprehensive plan and address these issues within short-term and long-term solutions. And they've done a very good job. So now what we have to do is look at our data and figure out what is the best implementation plan going forward to keep everybody safe, motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Sarwar, thank you for joining us. Oh, I have to go up to Barry. Okay, yes, first we'll have to finish our rotation here. Mr. Walters, then we'll get to Mr. Sarwar.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Vision Zero, I have heard as we've gone around just about everything that I was going to say with Mayor Cantor taking the idea that this is not a initiative that West Hartford has decided to create itself, that it's something that's been around for a number of years, and that we have the privilege of looking back on the best parts of it and utilizing those best parts and implementing them here in West Hartford. I can say that I live near Whiting Lane and Boulevard, and I find myself very consciously slowing down, even if I'm already going below the speed limit as I go through that section. So it's something that I is very much on my mind, and also as a parent with a kid that likes to bike all over the place, it's critical that we have the safest possible streets, and I think Vision Zero is a good way. The best way at this point is to get to where we need to be, and I'm excited to see what the results of the consultant's study is.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, let's catch up on things. Mr. Sarwar, thank you for joining us. You have 90 seconds to answer the question concerning the what's the name of it again? The Vision Zero initiative.
All right, first of all, thank you to League of Women Voters. I know I was a little late. Thank you for putting this together and having me here, and I apologize for being late. In terms of Vision Zero, I have to say I tend to disagree with a lot of what Vision Zero wants to do. I'm opposed to red light cameras in town, even though it will help. I think it could help with some of the fatalities that we may have had. It could potentially help, but it will increase the number of accidents. All studies point to the fact that red light cameras do increase the number of accidents in town. I would like to see more policing. I think we need to support our police. I think there's a lack of support for the police department. I have many friends in the police department, and they don't feel supported. They tend to they like to give a lot of warnings recently, and I would like to see a little bit more policing, especially in problem intersections, and see what the study says, and that will pinpoint our problem intersections. But I am opposed to more red light cameras, more regulation. I feel like it's just Big Brother, and I don't really want that in town. We're turning into more and more of a city. I'd like to focus more on our infrastructure, taking care of our roads. We pave less than 1/3 of the number of roads we used to pave just 5 years ago. I'd like to know how much we're spending on these studies, these road calming measures. I'd rather see us actually spend money on things that will help our residents, which would be paving roads, taking care of problem sidewalks and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to a question from the audience. The first respondent will be Mr. Winograd, and then we'll go on to Mr. Cortez and come around the dais. Electric vehicles are on the road. What is the role of the council in choosing the locations and number of electric charging stations to assure equity and accessibility in West Hartford?
Thank you for the question. One thing we are doing, and our Public Works Department has been working actually to expand those resources, looking to get more of our cars, of our town vehicles electric, as well as expanding the availability. I will say, the one issue in my mind with electric vehicles is some of the size of them, frankly. The larger trucks, actually have some problems environmentally and safety-wise. Not much we can do about that, I don't think, but I do think we have to, so take that into account as we decide where to put facilities. But we definitely are expanding. There's a plan for that, and as we move forward, trying to get to a carbon-neutral society and town, we'll have a major role in creating that infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cortez.
Thank you for the questions. No, for electric vehicles, talking about, adding stations throughout town and and ensuring that we're not just doing it in the center. There's, we have some imposed in the Bishop's Corner area, but also Elmwood itself, and then maybe, figure out a way where we can track how much use and increase. Because by 2035, there's going to be no more gas vehicles. All vehicles sold in the state would be electric vehicles. So, we need to start picking up the pace and looking at solutions now instead of waiting till it becomes an issue. And again, making sure that is done in a way where we're hitting every corner in the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cantor, your response.
Thank you. Our Public Works Department is working very closely with Eversource because many of the locations are going to be on private property if we're going to spread EV around town, and that investment will be again, a partnership with private property. So we do have some public property around town, but that's not going to serve all of our community. So there will be an education, a commitment, and there is a lot of support right now, federal funding for electric vehicles. And I know we're working closely with the state and federal governments to get the financing.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks.
Thank you for the question. And to piggyback off of Mayor Cantor, I do know that our Director of Public Works is working very closely with looking at a best comprehensive plan in terms of where to put these stations, how many vehicles are going to be feasible, and also within budget. There's also some issues around some of the EV vehicles and the batteries that the fire department is also part of, looking at safety of these vehicles and safetiness of the charging stations in terms of close proximity to buildings. So we have to take all that into account when we talk about either purchasing more vehicles and purchasing more charging stations, and also the impact on the town budget.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walters.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. As was mentioned, a plan or the beginnings of a plan are already underway. To ensure availability, we need to look at locations, obviously, but, we need to make sure that those locations are in practical places, that they are places where people can and are able to go very easily. We also need to make sure that, and this will be part of that plan, I'm sure, that we are putting enough charging stations in those locations. I know, for example, here at Town Hall, we have 2 stations out in the parking area. And from experience, those 2 stations are utilized. And I know I hear it from the other half that there's never a time for him to charge his car there. So I know it's heavily utilized, so we want to make sure that we have enough. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bush, your response.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to go backward one question and just make a comment regarding Aaron, that you want more police but less Big Brother. I didn't understand that, so I just wanted to put that on the record. I didn't understand how you can have more police and less Big Brother. Anyway, so EV charging stations are the future. We need to have as many as possible. The problem is that we need to engage the private property owners because there's not enough town property to have as many EV charging stations as necessary. There's a ton of federal grants and money that's available. I think the town should make some outreach to private property owners, especially with all of the new development that's going on, in order to encourage them to include the EV charging stations. I don't know if there's some incentives that the town can provide, but this is an absolutely critical step towards the future. Fully support as many EV charging stations as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Poland.
Yes, thank you. And I'll just build on what others have already said. I'm also a supporter of putting in more charging stations where we can. And you asked specifically about the town council's role. So I will say that as we have seen developments come before us for zoning decisions and other approvals, we have sought to ensure that those developments do include electric vehicle chargers. So that is one way that the town council can impact where those electric vehicle stations stations are, or charging stations are put. However, as we know, in order to make sure that they're equitably distributed across town and available for people who may not be able to move into a brand new place and utilize the charger in that parking lot, we do need to look at the incentives offered by the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed federally and see how we can implement more charging stations in our public schools and other places, in the parks and other places that we own in town.
Thank you for your response. Ms. McGinnis.
Yes, everybody's pretty much said everything. I just want to add that, presently my husband and I are looking at purchasing an electric vehicle. So I welcome new charging stations, but I have full confidence in the town staff to make the proper decisions about where those are placed around town and making sure that each area of town has enough for the number of electric cars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sarwar, your opinion on this.
All right, thank you. Even though this isn't a debate, I will just just a little comment here.
Can we please hold our comments to the questions? I know that there's some interchange, and we'll let you get to those.
Copy. All right. So when it comes to electric vehicles and charging stations, I don't understand why the town would drive where we're putting all the electric charging stations at. We currently have gas stations all throughout town. If there are going to be no more gas vehicles, what's going to happen to gas stations? I think there's going to be the technology is going to continue to evolve. We're going to have rapid chargers, and the private sector is really going to step up. They're going to have to. And on top of that, most of the charging stations we already have are already on private lands, and it's all done fairly privately. So, I mean, again, my focus would be more on focusing our infrastructure that we already have that we're not maintaining, like roads, sidewalks, our schools. We have so many other things that are happening in town, but yeah, here we are talking about electric vehicles. But yeah, I mean, it's a great evolving technology, but again, I think the private sector is going to step up. They're going to have to, because there's going to be obviously an opportunity there for them to make some money. That's my comment on that.
Thank you very much. One quick follow-up question on that. The issue of current multifamily dwellings, two-family, three-family houses, private owners. Would you support some sort of supplement for those families who would want to put those on their own private properties? Can I see a show of hands if you would support something like that? You know, not town properties.
Can you clarify that? Because that's an important question.
Yes, not town properties, not private apartment buildings, but the private owners who are going to need to install EV charging stations, who may have a two-family house or even a single-family house. How is the populace of the town going to afford those? Would you support some sort of
I'm not sure I understand the question. I own a lot of two-family and three-family homes, so that's a direct question to me. So
you're a landlord. That would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about, but anyone who owns a three-family house is by nature a landlord. Two of the rent units are going to be tenant occupied. So.
Okay, but would you support? The question is, would you support some sort of financial initiative to
incentive
to help people install EV stations at their own houses? Just a show of hands.
I think there are already
federal
incentives.
Are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's already state incentives for
Okay.
that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Going to move on to question number 4. And we will start with Mr. Cortez. This was a audience question. The library hours were cut during COVID and have not been restored to their pre-COVID schedules. What is your opinion on restoring or increasing library hours?
So now that we're, in this post-pandemic world and we've all gone back to work and, life has gone to what the new normal is, I think it is important that, we start increasing those library hours. They are, again, some people still have to rely on technologies. So if you look at families that can't afford to be, get internet, be online, it creates opportunity, especially if mom or dad have to drop the kids at school and attend a Zoom meeting at work. Again, opportunity that, you can probably utilize the library, some of the services in the library. So I think it's important that we look at the hours at the library and start adjusting them accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kander.
This is obviously a discussion that goes through committee, and we work with the library director and the board to get recommendations. We have not seen a formal recommendation to increase the library hours. We have actually initiated more services that the users can use outside of the library, whether it's Dropbox or pods that are workable, that users were using, but we're happy to entertain any ideas that the libraries have. They are a treasure, and often I say they're the kitchen of our community.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks, your opinion?
Thank you for the question. And what I would say is before making a decision about increasing the library hours is to work or listen to staff in terms of what is the data in terms of showing where are the peak, I don't want to say population, but the busy time of when people are visiting the library. So to increase the hours because we want to get back to pre-pandemic levels doesn't necessarily mean that it's warranted. So I would prefer to actually listen to staff to say what the needs are and then try to meet those needs.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walters.
Thank you. I actually agree with what Alberto and what has been said so far. We do need to look at, first, we need to look at what the busy times are and make adjustments according to that. But it also behooves us to know what that is. So the data needs to be brought before us, before any council. However, you know, there are individuals in the community that may not be able to access the internet, have certain services from their home. And we do have to be mindful of that when we are establishing future hours. It's a matter of equity. It's a matter of not even fairness. It's a matter of equity and bringing equal access to everyone in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bush.
So I think that the library should be open as necessary without any restrictions pre-COVID, or if that was the most effective use of the town's money to keep it open at during those hours, and it was utilized by members of our town. Absolutely, it should be open back to pre-COVID hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullen.
Thank you. And I love our libraries so much. And I'm so grateful that I get to chair the Human and Community Services Committee of Town Council, which does have oversight over the libraries as well as social services and the parks and senior centers. The library did actually increase its hours this year. So we were able to add back Sunday hours during the spring. We've not been able to do that all year. That is, as the mayor indicated, a proposal that if the library board comes forward with that as a budget request, we will absolutely talk about it in committee and bring it forward to the council, because we do want to make sure that the libraries are available to people in town as they need them. I will also just say about the libraries, one thing that we were able to do to enhance equity this year was to go fine-free. And that is a proposal, an initiative that the American Library Association has supported for many years. And we were very proud as a town council to be able to support having it so that our residents will not be fined if they bring their library books back late. It does increase people's comfort level with using the library. Even if they're a couple of days late on a book return, they can still walk in and feel welcome. And I would just want to make sure that people know our libraries are a welcoming space for all.
Thank you very much. Ms. McGinnis.
If the library staff brings forward a proposal for increased hours, bring it in committee, we would obviously consider it. But until they do, we don't really know what they would want. The getting rid of the fees, I think, was a huge thing this year, something that other cities and towns around Connecticut have done. And, libraries are very important, especially for growing up. I couldn't afford to buy books for myself at home. So the library was where I could go. I love to read, so I could go to the library and get a book and have access to anything, that I wanted to learn about. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sarwar.
All right. When it comes to town services, any expansion of town services is good for our residents. So I'm happy to hear that we've expanded our hours at the libraries. I can tell you my family spent a lot of time in the library. They moved here undocumented in the 80s, and my grandparents actually learned English. Everybody in my family learned English at the West Hartford Library. So libraries are very important to me. And also, I should note that my family was granted political asylum shortly thereafter. But my whole family learned English in the West Hartford Library. So we now have a large influx of immigrants in town, Syrians, Afghans, and I would love to see those services expanded, but in an efficient manner. We just have to always be cognizant of that. We already have a very heavily taxed town, and our residents are, would definitely want us to be efficient with how we do it.
Thank you. And to finish up, Mr. Winograd.
Thank you. Just a couple things to add to a lot of great comments. I mean, the libraries are absolutely vital and cherished in town. And I'll note the three of them. So when we talk about hours, it's also about making sure that we're, fully staffing and keeping open all three libraries. And so when we look at hours and how best to distribute them, and that's one of the factors we have to look at. And when I ran the first time 8 years ago, that was one of my top issues, was to, in fact, to restore some hours that we had lost a while ago. So it's always that sort of back and forth. Every budget time we're looking at it, but we're also looking at the other efficiencies, and as noted, a lot of the online stuff as well. So, I don't think there's any question that our libraries are really the heart of the town, along with our schools, and we have to do everything we can to make sure they succeed and that our residents have every opportunity to use all their services.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're moving on to the next question. We will start with Ms. Poland. The question concerns the development of the UConn property. What is your opinion of the potential wetland problems with the development of the former UConn property, which is in a wetlands area?
My opinion is that I cannot answer this question, or I will get into trouble. And that is because this development will come before the town council. It could come before the town council while I'm serving. And we just absolutely are not allowed to answer questions regarding this property at this time. I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. I assume that that's going to be true for any number of you. Ms. McGinnis.
As Ms. Poland said, I cannot answer any questions on things that we think are going to be applications coming before us. It would be inappropriate and unethical for me to weigh in on that development right now.
Okay, thank you. Can anybody weigh in on this question? All right, we'll go around in a circle. Mr. Sarwar.
Well, first of all, I would say I think the biggest blunder in our town has been this UConn property. The decision that the town council made to not purchase the property for $1 million from the state. That in itself was a blunder. The town turned around and sold it for multiple times that to a developer. So I mean, being upset with what's being proposed, that's one thing. But what you should really think is, how do we get ourselves in this position? And that was because of the decisions made by the town council. They have made mistake after mistake recently with some of the developments and some of these decisions. That property was offered to us for $1 million, the biggest piece of land, developable piece of property in town. So that's something to think about. And then the wetlands issue, that's a whole other issue. I'm not going to comment on that. But thinking back on what happened over the last few years, I mean, that was a blunder. And I saw that coming. I mean, I actually was blown away when they didn't purchase it, and I can't believe that we put ourselves in this position. That's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Bush, I think you're the only other person that can weigh in, right? I believe everybody else is on council.
So,
if you wish.
Yeah. So Aaron hit on some pretty important points that I also believe that it was a mistake not to purchase that property. It is what it is now. My opinion is that that property should not, absolutely not be developed into anything other than something very low impact on the town. We have had an enormous amount of development in town recently, lots of new units. And I'm pro-development in a lot of ways. I just think that property, where it's located, if you put multiple units of traffic and cars, and it's just going to, I think, ruin the idea of what West Hartford is. I mean, essentially, we are a small town. You know, we think we're the new Hartford, and all the development in the center with all the restaurants is fantastic, and some of the new developments in, you know, with housing where the science center used to be. And I mean, these are all adding to the burden, the traffic. Have you driven down Main Street, you know, at 5 o'clock lately? It's very difficult to get around town. So the wetlands issue, you know, I say we stick to it. It's wetlands. You can't develop there. That's my opinion. I do not want to see a big 500 unit or multiple 100 unit development there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next question. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Winograd.
So the reason we can't comment on a development that's going to be in front of us is because we act as judges. And so, you know, if we were to show bias about a project either in favor or against prior to it being brought before us, we could risk a suit, you know, claiming that we were not properly doing our jobs as the zoning authority. So that, again, it's not out of not wanting to talk about things, it's like we really can't. And we also should keep our opinions until we've seen all the evidence. Because as judges, whether you're on the council or not, we are the ones who will hear that evidence and really shouldn't have an opinion until we've seen everything, both from the people for or against any development. In terms of the UConn property, though, in the past, just to set the record straight, the majority party, the Democratic Party, was in favor of purchasing the property for quite a while with opposition from the Republican Party. Went back and forth, and eventually the environmental issues just became too great. And while it was for sale for $1 million, our estimates were that it was up to $10 or $11 million to clean it up. Plus, we had heard that we got reports that PCBs were being found in the water and therefore would have to be remedied with no limit on how much that might cost. So at that point, it felt fiscally irresponsible to go through with that sale. And again, it was well debated at the time, and I don't think it can be simplified as something like we just missed an opportunity to buy it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I have a follow-up question, goes back to waste management from the audience. Could the candidates comment on pay-as-you-throw waste management? And we are starting with Ms. McInnes on this one.
Me. So as you know, we do have the pilot for the food waste, and also included in that were the orange bags to put your trash in. We need to reduce waste. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The food waste definitely lessens the trash. I think the smaller bags let people know, give people a better sense of how many things they are throwing away, because it's a smaller bag. You can't just throw endless amounts of trash into it. But right now, I don't have an opinion on that. That hasn't been put forward to me, so I would have to see what that proposal would be and you know, what that proposal would incorporate into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sauer.
All right, so I'm going to right off the bat say I'm completely opposed to the pay-as-you-go for our waste management, like for waste management. You know, we're already a heavily taxed town. We don't need another nickeling and diming now for every bag. We have over 60,000, getting close to 70,000 people in town. We have 1,000 units coming online, probably about 1,000 just this year because of all the development. So I think that's just a little much to now manage, you know, pay as you go for each and every single person. I mean, we'd have to set up a whole department for it. I think there's better ways of doing it. More education. I think we need to expand our recycling program. I know my recycling bin's full every other, like it's completely full. I need to put stuff aside. Maybe we should look into that and see what we can do. Can we talk with the state? We should be talking to, it's a regional problem. This isn't just us. We shouldn't be doing this alone. We need to talk to our regional partners and talk to them about what can we do regionally with a sorting facility, maybe expand our sorting, like maybe do a better job at sorting so we can recycle more, maybe add a bin for an additional, just different streams. There's all sorts of emerging technologies out there, and I think it's the last thing we should be doing is nickeling and diming our residents and having them pay for bags. So I'm opposed to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Winograd.
So as touched upon before, we do have a crisis in waste management. We have tried various approaches over the past 6 years or so, and really nothing has worked. The recycling bins did not actually have much impact on the other trash. If you're filling up your recycling bin, that's great, but that's a lot of product being produced. And right now, the market has pretty much, disappeared. So the cost of getting rid of the recycled material isn't really that much less than the cost of getting rid of the other waste. So given, national, international climate issues, environment, we need to look at something other than shipping things off, on trains to far away places. We don't have to think about it. We are expecting a report soon from DEEP. They paid for this, for our pilot, and we're looking for the results. So, it'll be data-driven. We're looking to see how it went, and then there are lots of different ways of dealing with it beyond just the one that was posed a few years ago with bags. But we have to look at everything. I mean, we're in crisis here, both fiscally and environmentally, and options have to be on the table. But again, we have to look at the data and see how the pilot went.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cortez.
Thank you for the question. We all assume that waste is a common sense thing, right? Like that everybody knows, how to recycle and which color bin needs to go out today. I think education always focus when it comes to waste, that education is super important. I don't think we could do a better job of it. Even if it's a reminder once a year, once every other year, granted that costs money, right? To send a paper out, like creating waste. But education will go a long way. So that way people are excited to, separate the stuff. Oh, the pizza box, that can go in the recycle bin. Not everybody in this room knows that you can recycle the pizza box with the grease, and it's something that should be common sense, but it's not. And we can't assume that it is. So we start there with education. But also, the government needs to step in and start holding companies like Amazon responsible for creating excess waste. When you order a small item and you get a huge box, so when you start attacking those two things, right, instead of burdening families that can't afford to pay as you go, right, who are already stretched enough and push to the limits where they can afford to stay in West Hartford any longer on them, because that's what it is. I think that's where we go. Focus on education and hold big businesses accountable for creating excess waste. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. We have a recycling coordinator that goes out to the schools and does so much work with our students and educating. They've actually worked really hard with the pilot program to talk about how to change behavior. That's an important part of it. Education is critical. It's hard to do when we're all bombarded with so much information, but there is a lot of information that she can provide. She can actually do an audit at your home on what you can recycle and what you can't. Actually, wish throwing is wish cycling is what it's called. It can contaminate a whole unit of recycling. It's really complicated. This is really complicated. It is regionally discussed. It is something that we all have to come to the table with some big solutions. Pay as you throw is one option of a couple, but it is the most successful option in keeping down costs worldwide.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks, your response.
Thank you for the question. And I believe pay as you throw introduces behavior change and responsibility. It's simple. And we need to protect our environment. We need to save the earth. And we have excellent town staff, as the mayor said, that provides education and teach what you need to do And if there's questions or hesitations, they're very open to listening to residents' concerns and can answer their questions rather quickly. So it's an easy process, and I think if people have issues or challenges, they can always reach out to the town, and the town will be more than happy to oblige. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walters.
Thank you. Indeed, education and behavior change are the two key ingredients here. I know that when our efforts to increase recycling were really pushed out there, the number one issue was people were doing it wrong. And as was mentioned, one item can contaminate a whole batch of recycled materials. We also know that I believe China, for example, was taking a lot of our recycled materials and they stopped doing it. And it is not a much sought after commodity at this point. So, it all comes back down to using less and wasting less. To reduce the amount of trash in the first place. So, pay as you throw, pay as you go, however you want to phrase it. It shouldn't be our first option. It should be something that is not, I'll not eliminate it from consideration, but it should not be our first option. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bush.
So unlike the zero policy question, I happen to know quite a bit about this one. Pay as you throw is actually a very good idea. It actually will save the town of West Hartford. I think the last estimate that I heard was about $600,000. It does become a tax on individuals, especially tenants, because in this program you actually purchase bags. Like an orange bag is household waste and a green bag is food waste. So it provides a very easy method for the center, once the trash is delivered, they can just recycle it based on the color of the bag. So if the town rebated the amount of money that they're spending on trash removal to the residents and then allowed them to purchase these bags or offered bags to the residents at a reduced cost, this would be a home run for the town, for the residents. It is not an increased cost for the residents, it's a savings. It does allow to recycle household food waste from regular trash at the same time. So it's a great idea, and I would fully support learning more about it. Yep.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Poulin.
Yeah, thank you. I don't, again, I wouldn't foreclose on this idea. I would like to learn a lot more before making a decision about whether it's a good idea for West Hartford residents or not, and businesses. We do have some really good experts in town who are running our Public Works division, and I would like to get their advice on this and then figure out how we should move forward best.
Can I just have 2 more seconds? Because I know I had like 7 seconds left. It's $4 a month, approximately, for the cost for an average resident.
All right, thank you. Yes. All right, on to the next question. We're going to start with Ms. Cantor. Before I do that, we have a note from Mary Fay, one of the attendees who was not able to attend here. She has a very bad case of poison ivy and has sent in documentation in case you guys need a doctor's note. So she sends her apologies for not attending.
She called the station.
Yeah, and she called the station. So all right, on to question. Next question will be starting with Ms. Cantor. Let's see, what did I do with that one? How are you going to address the growing issues around racism and anti-Semitism growing in the country?
This is an important issue, something that is really critical to quality of life and to, I think, the future of our communities all throughout the United States of America and the world. I think, I think West Hartford has become increasingly diverse, and we part of the reason I think it has become more diverse is our intentional work to be a very inclusive and accepting community and support people from everywhere. And we all have work to do on to get to a point, but we hired a diversity, equity, inclusion on both the school side and the town side who work intimately with our town staff to help guide them. But we have more outreach and work to do publicly as well. But it's an inadequate answer for a very big question.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks.
Yes, thank you for the question. We all know this is an ongoing problem and it's not going away anytime soon. And because of the 2 experts that we did hire, we hope to make some inroads into this area fairly quickly. But in order to do that, I think we all have to come to a place to acknowledge where we are and that we do have issues, and we have to be open to listening and listening to all sides so that we can address this issue once and for all, not so much for us, but for our future generation. It should be easier for us to live in peace and harmony than hate and violence. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walters.
So it's also a matter of safety in a way. I mean, we need to make sure that our residents, our citizens, everybody is in a place of where they feel safe, where they belong, where they can live their life without fear of any kind of bias or discrimination against them, where they do not have to put up with degradation. We, unfortunately, are not there yet, and it's a matter of pushing ourselves and each other to reach a place where there is no hate, where there is no animosity towards one another just because of the color of their skin, who they worship or where they worship, who they love, any characteristic that is quite frankly being used against them now. West Hartford does have a lot of great things about it in this area, but we do have some room to go, and I think we are going to get there. It's just going to take some time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Poulin. I'm sorry, Mr. Bush. Mr. Bush, I'm sorry. I didn't look up.
I'm sure I used more time than I did. Thank you. That's okay. So I'm going to get as much mileage as I can out of that zero tolerance thing, because there should be zero tolerance. I mean, racism, anti-Semitism, all of these things are old-fashioned and outdated and need to be done away with. My good friend Lee Gold had an event on LaSalle Road last fall, and I was shocked, 100% shocked, to find out that the FBI, ATF, and SWAT teams were on buildings with guns, and I'm like, really? Like, this is the world we live in now. There's a lot of problems that come about when people don't understand that we're all here together. We're all trying to get along and live together in the same communities. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter the religion that you practice. We all want to raise our children, we all want to have families, and we all want to feel safe when we close our doors at night. We should have zero tolerance. West Hartford has had a couple of blemishes on its records, some recently, which I don't know a lot about, so I'm not going to go into detail. But I think that in general, that this town council has done a fairly good job of maintaining that. And I think we need to continue to work together to make sure that it doesn't happen in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Poulin.
Thank you. This is a question that's really personal and important to me. It's extremely troubling to see the increases in anti-Semitism and the increases in racism, particularly over the past several years. I think the pandemic and the resulting unrest across the country have uncovered what maybe some people were thinking inside and weren't acting on prior, and have also caused people to search out additional people in their bubble online, and has caused some extremism. It's a real problem. And when we talk about education, we also need to make sure that we tell people that there are certain buzzwords, certain flashpoints that will ignite people who are already inclined towards anti-Semitism and racism. We just recently had the high holidays in Judaism, and every synagogue in town had reached out to our police to make sure that we had additional police presence. We were checking people's purses and what are called the bags that you carry your tallis, the prayer shawl in, to make sure nobody was coming in with any weapons. It's a very unsettling time to be Jewish, and I'm sure it's an unsettling time to be a person of color or any minority. And I'll do anything I can to work with people across town to improve this for West Hartford and across our region.
Thank you very much. Ms. McGinnis.
Yes, first I just want to say that I think it was a huge step forward for us to hire the diversity and equity coordinators. One of the things we've seen over the years at a national level, at state levels, is that there are politicians who say things that have made people think it's okay to say anything they want to say about anyone at any time. And people mirror that behavior. I think as public officials, all of us have a duty to bring people together, to not say things that inflame people and hurt groups of people. So really, I think that we all just have a responsibility to just be better and just more kind. It's pretty simple.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sauer.
I have to say this is also very personal to me. None of us will ever forget the day, we'll ever forget 9/11. For me, being Afghan, I remember that day because I got kicked out of my own classroom in Concord High School. I have to say we've come a long way. Our restaurant was getting egged. We were getting death threats. You know, it was widely, it was all over the news. But I have to say the West Hartford community really came together, and I think we're on I remember it was amazing. Everybody came out and supported us and told us, you know, that we're part of the community, and here we are. We're still here, but it's zero tolerance. I mean, it's disgusting what's happening right now with the rise in anti-Semitism. Just absolutely zero tolerance. It's about education. It's about getting people out of their shells. I think we're in a society now where, you know, you're on your phone. You don't even say hi to people as you're walking by them. It's a sad time, in my opinion. And I think we really need to get people out again. We need to get people out. We need to get them out in the parks. We need more recreational facilities. I would love to see just more community. But we're definitely in a better place than we were, I would say, 20 years ago, because I'll never forget the days, weeks, and months after that tragic day.
Thank you very much. Mr. Winograd.
Thank you very much. And boy, I wish I had more than 2 minutes. All right. Listen, we're not perfect. West Hartford is far from perfect, but we're making great strides. The town I grew up with would not have had a pride. It wouldn't have had Juneteenth. It wouldn't have had representation we have on this council. Again, we've come a long way, but we're also in a bubble, and I don't think anybody can ignore the fact that, you know, racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia, these are not things that are just happening. They are things that are being driven by political figures at the national level who see electoral advantage in this. Either electoral advantage or, from others on social media, profit. And so while the hate and the ugliness and the dirt has always been there, it is being brought out now strategically. And I think as leaders in any community, here, again, in our great little bubble, but also at every other level, we all need to join together in any kind of leadership role and condemn that sort of hatred. But again, I don't think we can pretend that it's just about education. This is intentional, and hopefully it won't work.
Mr. Cortez.
So this is a tough topic for me, right? So lived in West Hartford 25 years. My 2 boys went through the school systems here. And yes, our town is very diverse. I've always mentioned that. And I always mention how much I dislike that word diverse, because we're divided. put in pockets, right? I would love to see an inclusive West Hartford. I would love to see us more inclusive. I shouldn't say we're not. We try very hard. But I would love to see a more inclusive West Hartford. My sons growing up through the school system here have gone through some things that I felt were not inclusive, right? And I hear stories from other families, from immigrants, from different nationalities with similar stories. So we have a long way to go. Granted, we just hired 2 diversity, equity, inclusion officers, and that's fairly new. So it'd be interesting to see how we develop out of town, but we do have a lot of work. And I disagree with my colleague over here, Aaron, that we're better now than we were 20 years ago. I feel like we've taken a few steps back and creating a lot more work. So yes, this is a very difficult topic for me. I'm the first Latino elected to town council. And, I wish I'd done more in my 2 years, to bring some of this stuff out and talk about ways to bring us together as a community and be inclusive and not just diverse.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to our next question. I'm going to talk about the budget. This question goes to Mr. Sarwar. What will you do as a council person to control taxes?
That's a big one. All right, so to control taxes, I mean, first of all, we got to look at everything that we provide, all the services, staffing. Our biggest expenses are obviously the benefits packages, pensions. On top of that, our Board of Ed. Obviously our biggest asset is our schools, so we have to maintain we have to maintain the level that our schools operate at. But at the same time, enrollment's down at all the schools. Enrollment is down, and it's trending down. It's going to continue trending that way. So we need to take a serious look at our spending and what are we doing? What can we do? Where is the fat? The reality is we've more than doubled our budget in the last 15 years. So we got to ask ourselves some real tough questions. Contract negotiations are always very difficult, but again, we need to have the political will to really ask the tough questions and really stand firm and push back. So that's what I would do. There you go.
Thank you. Mr. Winograd.
Thank you. So a couple points. First of all, certainly one thing we can do is build our grand list. When we develop more properties, again, we get more taxes from them. Without growth of our grand list, taxes will absolutely go up. There's an economy of scale. We're not adding, because we actually have somewhat diminished enrollment in our schools, we have capacity. There's absolutely no evidence that new development will increase the cost of education more than we'll be getting from those new taxes. Beyond that, it increases the viability of other businesses, right? So as we grow, and any group that isn't growing is dying, right? As we grow, it does help relieve that burden. But nothing's perfect. We've also, we look through in every budget, we're looking for, of course, every efficiency. In my time on 8 years, I've yet to see a serious proposal for significant cuts. We talk about, we should have more roads built. Well, the reason we're, to the extent that we're not paving as many roads, it's because of the cost. Again, it's all that balance to try to come up with the highest services possible at the lowest cost, and I believe that is what we're achieving, which is why this year we had a bipartisan budget. It passed with votes from both parties, and in part because we all did the work, and we came up with a budget that did the best for the residents.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cortez.
The budget is my favorite time of year, budget time. We spend a lot of time going, we actually start every committee meeting, every discussion leads to the budget, right? And there hasn't been a perfect budget. There's flaws. And yes, growing our grand list, right? That's how how do you generate revenue, right? So I like to say right sizing government, the way we do business, right? Not leaving money on the table. So just looking where we can improve services by beefing up the staff there to generate revenue, like the permits, we're behind 3 months on, if you pull a permit, it might take 3 months to get somebody out there. That's money left on the table. but growth also, smart growth, right? We're growing at a rapid pace here, but we're not, what we're forgetting is growth costs money too, right? You need services for growth. You got the school systems, response from the police department, right? Increasing the fire department. We talked about it today. Now since we're building up, rescues, more training, and are we right sized in those departments? If we're not right sized, we're not safe. So there's a cost to growth too. So I think we need to slow things down a little bit and do smart growth and not leave money on the table. Look at opportunities that we can improve on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cantor.
And this is the most challenging thing that we face year after year after year, and it is really, really hard. We have done so much to contain costs: pension reform, healthcare, putting most of our employees on the state partnership plan has brought down costs. The town experiences the same inflationary pressures as every home does. So, and what is our budget? It's our schools, number one, police, number two, fire, number three, public works, number four. And so the decisions and the libraries, if we cut the libraries, we would see if we closed all of our libraries, we would see almost no change to the tax bill. So the social services is a very, very, very small component of the big drivers. The restructuring of the pensions will save we projected $100 million over 30 years, something like that. And just a reminder, and I could talk on this for hours, but the 90% of our budget are taxes, and 80% of those taxes, 10% come from either fees or the state government. 80% of those are residential taxes. So if we want to contain costs, we have to cut some of those services. That's no question. And if we don't want to, we have to do some revenue growth, and that is partly smart, appropriate grand list growth.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks.
Yes, thank you for the question. As the mayor and others discussed or raised, is we want to grow and improve our town. We talk about the taxes and we talk about the budget. The taxes may appear high, but our services are great. We talk about our PD, we talk about our FD. They respond to our households and businesses within minutes. We want them to have good equipment, so when they do respond to those emergencies, they have the proper equipment and the proper training to do so. That cost, just as the mayor said, we all know post-pandemic, all of those prices have gone up. We're dealing with supply chain issues. This does impact our budget. However, we have very smart town professionals that work very hard to look at other ways where we can reduce wherever we can and get the biggest bang for our buck. And I applaud them each and every time. They look for grants where they can minimize the cost, where we don't have to come out of our budget as much. So I understand everyone's concern, especially who raised that question. But when we talk about taxes and budget, we also have to include the services that our town receive and why we continue to be a destination town for many people, not only in the United States, but worldwide.
Thank you very much, Ms. Blanks. Okay, Mr. Walters.
Thank you. I'm not going to go in and repeat many of the good points that have already been made. I will agree with most of those that have been made in that, our services, to maintain those services, we have to pay for them. And we should be looking at both our grand list and improving and increasing our grand list, as well as taxes to a degree, as an investment. It's an investment in our town. It's an investment in how we provide those services. It's an investment in our future. It's an investment in our children. So it's to cut just for the sake of cutting is going to reduce services, reduce the number of people who have jobs in our community. It's going to affect how people view us and reduce the number of people who want to live here. I know that I hear all the time people want to move away. Well, that may be for some people in their experience, but I know for a fact that a lot of people are willing to pay top dollar to live here in West Hartford. And that is because of our services, because of our schools, because of everything that we have invested in with our taxes, with innovation, and with smart growth all across the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to Mr. Bush.
Okay. I certainly support increasing the grand list through some development. I think that if you're growing, you're providing additional revenue. There's no doubt about that. I think the problem is that we offer a tremendous amount of services to our residents. West Hartford is an absolutely fantastic town. I'm thrilled to have lived here for 29 years and can't believe what an unbelievable experience I've had with my children. And so we offer a lot of services, and those services cost money. To reduce spending, to reduce the budget, to cut costs, you have to reduce services. I don't currently sit at the table, so I don't read the budget in my spare time, so I don't know, what exactly is in the budget. But I certainly take budgets extremely seriously. If any of you don't believe me, you can ask my wife. She gives me a hard time all the time because I'm constantly, budgeting. And anyway, that's a little anecdote. But I assure you that as a member of the town council, that I would spend money very wisely. I wouldn't waste anything. I would look to make sure that our decisions were wise and smart and prudent. And I would, add my voice to doing the best to make sure that the residents are getting what they're paying for.
Okay, thank you very much. On to Ms. Poulin.
Thank you so much. And I would actually encourage you, Rick, to take a look at the budget. All our town budget is online. It makes for some great reading. In fact, nationally, the Government Finance Officers Association awarded West Hartford with the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award last year. And what does that mean? It sounds really boring, right? But what it means is that we are committed to being transparent in our budgeting. And we would really like to have more residents pay attention to how our budget is developed and where the taxes go. We make that very clear in our budget. During the spring, if anybody had some free time, they could have participated. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 separate budget meetings over the course of about 5 weeks as we investigated all of the ins and outs of every single department through public meetings that people could pay attention to. We're looking for feedback from folks. And so the budget, I am committed to continuing our tradition of having responsible budgets that set us up for a successful future. Part of that does involve a balance between taxes and spending. We also need to try to get more money, our fair share, from the state of Connecticut, and we are also bringing in some additional grants, which I think will be helpful as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. McGinnis.
Yes, thank you. So I want to start by saying that the mayor summed up a very difficult issue perfectly, which is, why she's a great mayor. It's really pretty simple. You can be a growing town, you can be a stagnant town, or you can be a dying town. And we need development and growth to be a growing town. Our residents don't expect good services, they expect great services. And that's why a lot of people move to this town for the various things that we offer, whether it be the schools or the shopping. We're limited in how we can grow revenue. So doing that through smart growth is, one of the best ways to do that. And, my first night on council I was handed a binder this big and a binder this big, and it was budget night. So that's how I started on council. And going through that budget, you see that it's very thoughtful, and there's a lot of time put into how to, not increase taxes too much, but keep all the services that everyone here wants. And I think smart growth is one of the best ways to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, we will start with Ms. Blanks. And this will be the last question of the night. What more can the town do to create affordable housing?
Thank you for the question, because that is exactly what we're doing. So we are in thoughtful discussions, collaborating with staff, to look at affordable housing. We've actually have done good work in creating affordable housing in town, starting with Berkshire. So we are in the southwest and the southeast, and getting lots of feedback from people in town about affordable housing and the process. So I strongly believe that this town council is already doing that work, and we're also mindful of additional affordable housing that we are considering, and we are also collaborating with our state partners and federal partners to continue to look at not only a town issue wide, but a country-wide issue about affordable housing.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walters.
Thank you. So with the growth that we are experiencing here in town, and with the growth that we presume will follow, that provides West Hartford with an excellent opportunity to expand and improve our availability of affordable housing. It also allows us to look at what that definition really is, affordable versus attainable. Now, the town of West Hartford has provided or come up with some really creative and innovative solutions towards creating more affordable housing. The ARPA funds that were used to create a loan program, which we are looking at being possibly used for the West Hartford Inn conversion into what will be truly affordable housing. These are great. That was a great move forward, and it was something that is to be commended. As we go forward, we really need to use our innovation. We need to look at what makes a great community, and we need to use the tools that are already there to create affordable options for more people and to create more not just affordable housing, but housing types, which will allow all persons the opportunity to live here regardless of age, regardless of economic status. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bush.
So there's not enough affordable housing in West Hartford, in the state of Connecticut, in the United States, pretty much. It's a very significant issue. Inflation is crushing people. It's crushing the elderly on fixed incomes. It's crushing the people who make, living paycheck to paycheck. I see it every single day. I think the biggest concern that I have is when you say affordable housing, it somehow makes people believe that there's a way that poor people can afford housing, but that's really not the case. It's still very expensive. We need subsidies. We need to improve this. We need to increase the Section 8 program. We need to get rid of legal aid for tenants and use that money and use those efforts to try to help to mitigate the losses that are occurring on a daily basis. It's a huge issue. And I believe Connecticut just passed a law that's forcing towns to create more affordable housing, right? I don't know exactly. I'm pretty sure that just passed in the legislature. But fully support affordable housing. I fully support creating more housing units. I think there needs to be a huge effort on the part of the town to subsidize people's living expenses, because that's the biggest problem, is it's not affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Poulin.
Thank you. Creating more affordable housing is about creating more opportunity for people to move to West Hartford, people of all ages and backgrounds and income levels, and creating more opportunity for people to remain in West Hartford as their housing needs change and their income levels change. I was proud to be on the town council to support the new grant and loan fund that we are using ARPA funds for. That's the American Rescue Plan Act, the $6 million fund that my colleague Barry mentioned. And that's going to help the developers of the West Hartford Inn, and it will help other developers as well. We also need to ensure that as affordable housing units are being brought online, that we're looking at ensuring there are some 2-bedroom units, maybe some 3-bedroom units, so that we're creating opportunities for families as well as individuals to be in our town. We want to make sure that we look at various levels of affordable housing. There are a variety of different categories that the state has set, and those are very important to ensure that we bring more people into our town who can live here. That benefits everybody. It doesn't just benefit the people who have the opportunity to move into affordable housing. It benefits all of us to have a more diverse town and to have more housing brought online.
Thank you very much. Ms. McGinnis.
So, like my colleague said, the ARPA funds, that were used to create the loan program, that's something that will increase the availability of affordable housing. Look at the proposed development at the West Hartford Inn, which will have deeply affordable units, which are a game changer for people. With affordable housing, we also need to look at the diversity of housing, because we need young people to move here when they're out of college. We need older people to stay here when they want to leave their single-family home and don't want to rent an apartment. They need somewhere else, to live. So it is something that I am deeply committed to as someone who, in my 20s, was a single mom and, could have qualified for some of these units, the proposed units at the West Hartford Inn. It's one of my top concerns and something that, I will make a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sarwar.
I really wish I had more time to answer this one. So we keep talking about affordable housing. It's all on the backs of our existing residents. That's something to really think about. Everybody keeps patting themselves on the back about West Hartford Inn. The reality is that the West Hartford Inn is going to have, I believe, 40 some odd units. That property got a tax abatement as well. We were talking about budget earlier. That property got a tax abatement. It's only going to generate the same as about 5 average single-family homes in town for 40 plus units. So on top of that, for our existing residents in town, you don't have an affordable option if your family's visiting. Where are they going to stay for the night? West Hartford Inn wasn't really the answer. We needed a developer to go in there, clean it up, and we needed a good operator. That's what I would have liked to see there. But anyways, at the end of the day, affordable housing is just, I'm opposed to any tax abatements. I'm opposed to the ARPA funds being used for it. I'm actually a property owner. My family owns apartment buildings in town. We have units that we haven't raised the rent in years. We have tenants that are paying $1,000 for an apartment in town just because it's the right thing to do. I'm opposed to all this development. I think it's a little too much. About 1,000 units this year alone. The reality is it's all on the backs of our existing residents. We said earlier, the grand list is mainly based off of single-family homes. We need affordable ownership is what we need. That's I wish I had more time. There you go.
Thank you very much. Mr. Winograd.
Yeah, I wish I had more time too. Aside from that, I won't agree much with what was just said. But one thing, I don't think we can count on the benevolence of landlords for affordable housing. We have a lot we can do. We can certainly do direct subsidies, whether it's Section 8, which is at the statewide level, our use of ARPA funds that's been discussed. I'd like to see loans to some of our existing 3-family homes. Again, they're not deemed, quote, capital A affordable, but they are more affordable options for people, and we need to protect those in our community. We also have supply and demand. If you want to increase costs of a product, you stop the source. If you want to decrease the price, you create more of it. Creating apartments does lead to lower prices overall as we increase the supply. We obviously want to get the diversity of housing options. Some of that can also be by zoning. We want to make sure we have the most modern zoning rules possible that allow for innovation. We want to simplify the process for getting approval for building. We've done great work on that as well on some of our development districts, particularly in transit-oriented development. So again, that it costs less to develop. These are all efforts we're making. It takes a lot. It is no one single answer. But what is clear is that there is a need. And frankly, up until a moment ago, I've heard almost unanimity in this great town that we need affordable housing. And it's been a pleasure that people have, in fact, embraced the idea.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cortez.
Affordable housing, that's one of the things that are really important to me. I don't like the word affordable housing. It comes up a lot on this, in this room. and everybody just automatically assumes that it means one thing, right? When there's a lot of meanings to affordable housing. To a lot of the projects that come into this town, you know, who qualifies for some of these housings, right? And a lot of it's for young professionals, right? Very temporary, because it's, you know, it's on the higher end of the AMI, right? So it's not quite affordable for everyone. It's not affordable enough, right? So it's not what a lot of people assume it is. Now, the project in West Hartford Inn, that's probably the most affordable project that has come during this council while I sat here. And although not perfect, I think it was something that's needed. I think affordable housing, if we could remove that term and just diversify it so we give opportunity for not just you know, people who are low wage earners, but also to keep our seniors in town, right? Also to keep families in town they can't afford because they're being taxed out, right? And that's what I like about that West Hartford Inn, that maybe a family that is considering moving out of West Hartford could stay in West Hartford. But just as important as affordable housing, and affordable West Hartford should be just as important. And I think that's one thing that was a thing of the past, you know. I wish I had more time too.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cantor.
There's definitely not enough time. And the Goodwin, which we approved, it was a long time ago, 15 years possibly, or 12 years ago, was a housing authority project. This room was filled with people in opposition to that project, that development. We have had, we've all grown and I think understand that we have not seen much development since Blueback Square in town. We're seeing a bit of a catch up now. And part of that is happening statewide. We are thousands and thousands of units under where we need to be for our families throughout our state. And inventory, supply and demand, prices go up when inventory is low. So the tools that we can do, we've added 90 plus units for fellowship housing, the ARPA grants and both loans and grants. Sometimes there's gap financing that the town needs to provide, and that might be a tax fixing agreement for a few years before, but property taxes are still, car taxes are still being imposed, and there's still money coming into the town for those kinds of agreements. But it does add to the opportunity for all people to find homes that work for their lifestyle when they're in a certain stage in life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's going to conclude the question portion of our program. I'd like to thank all the candidates for attending and answering our questions, and I'd like to thank the audience for providing such thoughtful questions. We're getting ready for closing statements. Everyone will have 2 minutes. Yes? Yes. No more. We're running on time.
18 minutes left.
So we will start with the original order, and we'll start with Mr. Walters, and we'll work our way around. Thank you. Mr. Walters.
Thank you. And thank you to the League and to West Hartford Interactive for hosting today and having all of us here at the dais. I look around and there's 9 of us here. Who knows, maybe this will be the 9. About me, I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm excited to talk about and answer the questions. I'm very much looking forward to being a voice representative of all persons in West Hartford by serving on town council. There are many issues that our town faces that I feel I can constructively contribute to. And I feel that as a child of a military family, there is no place that I would rather live than West Hartford, Connecticut. I've seen a lot of towns. I've seen a lot of places. I've lived in a few of them. I lived in a place where there was rampant growth. If you blinked, you missed a new suburb being built. And I've also lived in a place where it was dead. There was no growth. There was nothing. Population was dwindling. So I am very excited about the direction that West Hartford seems to be taking, and I would very much like to be part of that, both as a resident and as a person serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bush.
Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters. This is, this might be my 3rd debate, and you guys just do a very professional job every time, so I appreciate it, and I'm proud to be here. I have been an active member of the West Hartford community for a long time. I serve on committees, I volunteer as a coach. I've been coaching basketball for 15 years. I'm a current commissioner of the MDC. I have been working for the last 5 years to fix the basement and street flooding in West Hartford. I have the respect of the board and the staff at the MDC. I was instrumental in West Hartford adopting the integrated plan, which is a very long-term plan to help exactly that, to stop the integration between the stormwater and the sanitary sewer. It's a very large problem. Anyone who lives anywhere near Lynbrook Road can talk about that. I have been an active participant of the former Conservation and Environment Commission. I was on that commission for 4 years. It was recently dissolved, and now there's a new Sustainable West Hartford Commission. I was not reappointed, so I'm going to just serve as a citizen member because I'm passionate about what's going on there with solid waste and the separation and the recycling and all of that stuff. It's good work. I'll continue my work with the MS4 program. It's the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, which is a very, very large project that DEEP eventually will come to West Hartford and tell us that we need to separate our stormwater. And if we can work with the MDC to make it happen together, it'll be a huge amount of money saved by the town. There's very little, I don't know if there's anyone in West Hartford who knows quite as much as I do about this problem. I've been literally doing it for 5 years. I bring a thoughtful, moderate, conservative perspective to the table. And if you want a productive town council with back and forth discussion, I am asking you for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Poland.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford and West Hartford Community Interactive for hosting this forum and all of you for attending or for watching at home. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share a bit about where I stand on the issues that matter to you as part of our democratic process. I'm so proud to live in a community that values and demonstrates civic engagement. After my husband Ian and I moved to town in 1999, I began my community service here as a volunteer visitor to an older adult who needed some companionship. Over the past 25 years, in addition to my professional work and raising our family, I have served on a variety of community and nonprofit boards. Then, inspired by the positive experiences that my kids, Jordan and Megan, had in our schools, I ran for the Board of Education in 2017. I served 5 years on the Board of Education, including as chair during the height of the pandemic, and then was appointed to the Town Council last November. I feel really fortunate to represent you in my role on Town Council, and I hope to win your support for a full term this fall. As a Town Council, we make critical decisions that impact our town, decisions about what we want our town to look like now and into the future. I am passionate about helping people and our town achieve and succeed. To do that, I will listen to others, think creatively, work collaboratively, and seek to implement pragmatic policy solutions. My time on Town Council and the Board of Education, combined with my professional experience working in nonprofits and at the state legislature, provide me with a background and perspective that will continue to benefit individuals and families in our town in the years ahead. I hope I can count on your support, and please do remember to vote on November 7th.
Thank you very much. Ms. McGinnis.
First, I want to extend my gratitude to WHCI and the League of Women Voters. I really appreciate you doing this and giving all of us an opportunity to talk about what our priorities are. I just want to give everyone a little information about me. I'm the newest sitting member of Town Council. In March, I was appointed to fill the vacancy left by Leon Davidoff when he became town clerk. I currently serve as chair of the Community Planning and Economic Development Committee and vice chair of Public Safety. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and moved to West Hartford from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. My husband Matthew and I have 3 children: Jade, who lives in Nashville; Riley, a 2019 graduate of the University of Connecticut who lives in Richmond, Virginia; and Flynn, who attended King Philip Middle School, Northwest Catholic High School, and is now a sophomore at the University of Connecticut. Choosing to move to West Hartford with my family was one of the best decisions my husband and I ever made. It's a wonderful and vibrant community with great schools, restaurants, libraries, and parks. If elected, a few of my top priorities will be public safety, including but not limited to strong support for our first responders, maintaining our excellent schools, and making our community more affordable for families, young people, and seniors. I believe that government should be a force for good, and that it takes strong, thoughtful, and compassionate leadership to do that. I hope to earn all of your votes on November 7th, along with the rest of the Democratic slate on Row A. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sarwar.
All right. So my family moved here in the early 1980s as immigrants from Afghanistan fleeing communism. And I thank God every day that they picked West Hartford. I went to the great schools we have here, went on to the University of Hartford, did mechanical engineering. I'm a vet, still serve with the Connecticut National Guard. And I love this town. I have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter who I look forward to the day when she goes to Braeburn and eventually graduates from Conard, where I went. This is a great town. My family decided to move here because of the charm the town had. Its open spaces, its services, and obviously its amazing schools. I feel like you heard a fairly unanimous voice, except for me, about growth. The town continues to grow. When are we going to call ourselves a city? At the end of the day, my focus is on the existing resident. The existing resident is the one that would vote me in to the town council, and they're the ones I work for, not the future resident, the existing resident. And I'm going to do what I can to keep it an affordable, to keep you in your home, because as you heard earlier, there's some council members here who basically said if you can't afford it, move on, because we have so many people looking to move into town. So that's my focus: keeping our schools, the great schools that they are, keeping our services to the exceptional level that they are at, and keeping our town's charm, because I feel like it's slipping, and it's just a matter of time before we're calling ourselves a city. That's that.
Thank you much. Mr. Winograd.
Thank you. I'd like to also thank the League for your service, to WHCI for airing this, to the voters of West Hartford for the honor of serving on council for the past 8 years, and even for Aaron, despite disagreements, I'll thank you for your service and your willingness to run. So yet again, after 8 years, I'm again asking for your support. West Hartford is a unique and special place. We are a diverse and welcoming community that takes pride in our wonderful schools and libraries, celebrates our shops and restaurants, enjoys our parks and cultural institutions, and honors our first responders. As a leader of this town, I've worked to keep our streets safe by supporting street calming efforts, protected bike paths, and enforcement of traffic rules. We passed a reasonable and prudent budget and successfully managed the challenge of reval. We're making significant advances in sustainability, reducing our carbon footprint, and planning for the inevitable impact of climate change. But what gives me the most pride is our commitment to affordable housing, making it more possible for new residents to join us and for our seniors to stay. While other towns in Connecticut fight against zoning reform and try to close their doors, we are going in a very different direction. For just one example, as you heard, we created the Revolving Credit Affordable Housing Fund to help make the old West Hartford Inn into affordable housing. I really think it says something just wonderful about West Hartford that there was community agreement over this decision. We heard very little opposition. West Hartford continues to embrace inclusivity and supports affordable housing. It's an amazing thing compared to many other places. I'm committed to protecting and improving West Hartford's quality of life, our diversity, our educational system, and our sense of community. I hope you will honor me with another opportunity to serve, and will support the rest of our Democratic team on Row A. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cortez.
So I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, WHCI TV, for hosting us. I'm going to start with a story, which I think is important. This young girl that flew from Puerto Rico with her family in the late 60s, 5 siblings, single mother. At 13, this young girl had a baby. She was pregnant, had a child at 13. By the time that child was in high school, he had moved 9 times. He did not realize that during those 9 times, he's been unhoused, dealt with food insecurities, played with paper money, food stamps, right? Government cheese, right? Familiar with all that stuff, and he knew no better. But as he's going through high school, right, living in the projects in Hartford, dealing with the gang violence, he had to drop out his senior year, right? Because it's at his senior year that he decides that when does he get his next meal? Does he eat, go to work, or does he go to school and deal with the gang violence, right? So he drops out of school, gets a GED, goes to the military, and sits in front of you guys, the first Latino town council in West Hartford. That story is important because all my life, all I knew how to do was fight, right? And then I learned that service is important. So I served. I served in the Connecticut Army National Guard. I served 20 years in the Department of Corrections. I served in various committees in West Hartford. I advocated for workers' rights through Department of Corrections as a union steward. I've advocated for those who can't speak through Autism Speaks. And I will continue to do so if reelected to town council. So I thank everyone for their support, and make sure you go out and vote on November. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cantor.
I'm a little verklempt. That was beautiful. So I first want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters, WHCI, for their support, but also, as you can hear, all the candidates, public service, military service, service to our country, first responders, all. This is what makes our country, our communities great. And none of this governance is, we need to govern honestly, authentically, and practically. And it is up to us to make the quality of the community that we have. And so I've been involved in, I am a little verklempt. I've been involved in council for a long time, and almost 20 years. I was deputy mayor for 5 and mayor for 7 of those years. We have had enormous challenges and enormous opportunities, and we don't know what those challenges are going to be. Right now we're planning for this or that, but we don't know. We don't know whether there's a pandemic coming. We don't know. So we need to govern, listening to people, understanding that everybody deserves respect, building on the strengths of our community, but as we planning our world, if we stand still, we will fall behind. I'm a runner, and again, if you stand still, you lose the race. You have to keep moving forward. You cannot stay where you are. And so one of the most important things is that we plan to work together to move forward in the best way possible. I know that I will do that. I have complete confidence that my colleagues on Row A will do that. So please support Sherry Cantor and all of Row A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanks.
Thank you. Wow, all beautiful statements. Thank you to WHCI and the service you provide to the candidates during election season. Thank you, Carol, and the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford for providing this forum for the benefit of our registered voters. And thank you to the candidates for stepping up to run for this election or for an elected seat. And thank you to the audience for coming out to listen and to support. Very important. I am proud of this town council, my position as chair of public safety and vice chair of public works, facilities, and sustainability committees. Together with the mayor, the town manager led with Chiefs Riddick, Priest, we addressed and improved public safety. With a great team led by Mr. Phillips, Mr. Palmer, and Ms. DeVinny, we maintained and improved our roadways, properties, and infrastructure, and we continue to maintain a high bar in the area of sustainability and recycling. I am proud to be part of town council that is responsive and responsible for a budget that provides essential resources and excellent services for our school district and our town. Support me with your vote, where I can utilize my proven experience, continue to move West Hartford forward with smart growth, a welcoming community for all people who wish to call West Hartford home. Re-elect me for town council. I'm an incumbent and Democrat. Vote Row A on Tuesday, November 7th for the entire Democratic slate. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our program for tonight. I want to thank all the candidates again, WHCI, and the participants from the League of Women Voters for helping this come through. We hope this debate assists you, the voting public, when you go to the polls on November 7th. Please exercise your right and privilege to vote. We also encourage you to visit the League of Women Voters sponsored website, www.vote411.org. Each candidate will be featured along with a short bio and answers to a few more questions. You can also go to the Connecticut Secretary of State's website or the West Hartford Registrar to check and see that you are registered and where your polling places may be. And from our site, yes, of course. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Yes.